people that I don't vibe with, I'm just not gonna worry about it, you know?
Yeah, and I think people like we come and go into different stages of our lives, and we do different things and we find different activities and hobbies and all that stuff, and I think naturally in those spaces we meet people, and I think we just become more and more clear of exactly what you said, like who you're jiving with, like who you
Yeah.
got that connection with. And if you feel it, I would just encourage people to follow that wave. If it feels good and you're feeling energized and you're enjoying the conversation, then continue being in the presence of that person.
Yeah. Welcome to another episode coming at you from chooseyourrelationships.com, author of Love Can't Wait, which can be found on amazon.com. So today I have another special guest. However, before I get into that, like, share this episode, tell me what you think below, and any questions that you might have, you can go to my website at chooseyourrelationships.com, and in the subject line put Love Can't Wait podcast. All you have to do is just click on the contact tab when you get to the website, and you can send me all your questions there or whatever. Or another way to contact me is through my Instagram. That's probably one of the easiest. These are two of the easiest ways to contact me, basically. Send me any of your questions, any concerns, anything I can do to help you. You can find me there. However, my special guest today has spent the last 10 years of traveling the world, observing human behavior and asking what truly makes us happy, healthy, and fulfilled. She believes that the secret sauce to having a quality life is having quality relationships. She is a people lover, travel-goer, neuroscience-enthusiast, philosopher at heart, and ultimately calls herself a human connection expert. She has a background in communications, human rights, NLP, and holistic medicine. She is beyond passionate about creating a world where people can communicate effectively, lead consciously, resolve conflict gracefully, and ultimately connect deeply and meaningful in all relationships. She empowers professionals to build meaningful connections with anyone, anywhere, at any time, and communicate consciously in order to overcome conflicts in their relationships, from work life to family, friends, and romance. She does this through her life-changing 9-key system called the Connection Code. My special guest today is Giovanna Elias. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah, so thanks for taking time to do this again. So where are you from?
I'm from Toronto originally, but I'm actually living right now in Mexico. So it's been a nice, beautiful year that I've been here.
Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get started on this journey? Because this is not the path that you chose. It's not something that we go to school for. No one says, "Hey, when I grow up, I want to get an NLP." No one say, "Hey, I want to be a human connection expert." So how'd you get started?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great question. So I'd say it was probably a combination of things. One being initially my background, I went to school for communications and human rights law. And, I spent many years learning about communication internationally, but then also like all these atrocities in the world taking place between people. and all the conflicts that happen between people in the world. And then I went back to school years later for holistic medicine. And so I started learning actually how to build healthy relationships with ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And so I said, okay, this is like one part of the brain. I'm learning about communications, and I'm learning about these atrocities internationally. And the other part of me is like, okay, I'm learning medicine, and how do we actually build a healthy, holistic relationship with ourselves, and how do, we have healthy lives. And I'm thinking, okay, what do I do with these two worlds? How do I pair them together? And so I'll share a little story with you, because this, I think, for me was one of the major breakthroughs. So I've spent, like you said, years traveling the world and just, very naturally studying humans, studying what it is that we really want, what actually fulfills us, constantly asking this question, why are we here? What actually makes us happy? What are we living for? Why do we wake up in the morning? Why do we do what we do? And so I remember one day I'm getting off the subway, I'm in Toronto, and I see this couple literally outside the doors having this like screaming fighting match with each other, and they're just yelling back and forth and back and forth, and everybody in the subway is like staring, totally disturbed, bothered. Some laughing, some thinking, okay, this is insane. And so in my head I'm thinking, okay, for one, these people don't need to be suffering like this. If they had the tools to know how to communicate effectively with each other, this could look like a very different conversation. And two, I'm like, not only is this emotionally distressing them, they're now emotionally vomiting onto everybody in their environment. And that for me is not fair. And I think as humans, we do this, that we often don't have these skills. Exactly what you said, we don't learn this in school. So we don't have these skills to understand our emotional states, to know how to manage them, to know how to communicate about them. And at the end of the day, what I came to realize is every problem is a people problem. So if we actually know how to talk to our bosses, our kids, our teams, our friends, our partners, complete strangers, we would have much more fulfilling lives. We'd have easier lives and a lot less suffering and a lot less problems. So in a nutshell, I think that really sparked something off for me. I thought, these people just don't know how to talk to each other. But if they had the tools, they would have a very different kind of a relationship. And so I think this got me, the wheels turning. Like, how do I teach people, first and foremost, how to have a healthy relationship with themselves? And that comes from my, holistic medical background. And then how does that actually translate into our communication and our relationships with other people? And when we do have those healthy relationships with other people, and we do know how to dig deeper and really deeply connect, I think that's like at the core, the most fulfilling thing. Because I think when we do have quality relationships, at the end of the day, we have quality lives.
So what was it like going to school for holistic medicine?
Oh, fascinating. It was very interesting because it wasn't just, focusing on one area or another. So, we focused on the physical, which looked like studying herbal medicine and studying nutrition and fitness. But then we also looked into the psychological aspects of things and how the psyche impacts our emotional states. But then I also went on to study energy work, and some people use the word spirituality, and understanding that we're actually just as much energy beings as we are physical. And what that means is, we physically can see each other, but underneath it all, it's all energy. And a very simple way of explaining this without it sounding so spiritual and woo-woo is, and maybe I'm sure you could relate to this. Have you ever had a conversation with someone that you were like, wow, that was absolutely awful. I feel so drained and tired afterwards?
Oh, yeah.
But have you also ever had a conversation with someone where you're like, wow, the time just flew by. I could be here for hours. I'm like loving this. You're so high energy at the end of the conversation.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Right? This is all energy transference, and this is happening in our verbal and nonverbal communication. And so the moment I realized, I'm like, all of these dialogues, all of these interactions, these conversations we're having with people are either energetically energizing us, so they're bringing us up, or they can drain us. And so if we're not even aware of how we feel when we're going into these environments and the energy we're giving off to people, but also the energy we're receiving from people, then we're not even aware of how much we're being impacted by the people, our fellow human beings, let's say. And so that's a huge piece too. And that then impacts what we think, how we feel, how we operate physically in this life.
Yeah, I'm a big energy person, man. But there's another side to that.
Tell me.
What you're gonna have less people to talk to.
Okay, so how about quality over quantity?
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. Most people that I know, they'll say, "Well, if I go on just energy, where most people will be gone." I say, "Well, it's okay."
Sure. And if you go based on energy, then you also understand with time how to manipulate it and how to play with it and how to attract anything you want into your life. So when you really do master energy, actually you're in abundance. You're not in scarcity. And so you're going to find yourself in communities of people that are all thinking and feeling the same as you, which is actually beautiful.
Yeah. I've pretty much been like this all my life. I didn't really, I wasn't really aware of it until I was about maybe 19.
Okay.
And that's when I didn't really know that I could use it to my advantage. I didn't really know, because, like you said, I would hit it off with some people initially, and other people was kind of like this is too hard. I'm pulling teeth over here. We're just not connected. So that went on for, once I was aware of it at 19, probably within the next 3 to 4 years, I just made a decision that, hey, I'm just, the people that I vibe with, I'm gonna try to keep them around as much as possible. And the people that I don't vibe with, I'm just not gonna worry about it,
Yeah, and I think people we come and go into different stages of our lives, and we do different things and we find different activities and hobbies and all that stuff. And I think naturally in those spaces we meet people, and I think we just become more and more clear of exactly what you said, who you're jiving with, who you got that connection with. And if you feel it, I would just encourage people to follow that wave. If it feels good and you're feeling energized and you're enjoying the conversation, then continue being in the presence of that person.
Yeah. Do you think women naturally are like this?
I don't think men or women know to naturally be like this. So I'll be even more clear. I think all humans have the gift of tapping into energy and understanding and working with it. But I don't think because we're not taught it, I think we don't really understand the depth of our power. And so I don't think it's a male versus female thing. I think everybody can access the power of their own energy and how to tap into other people's energy and how to play in those two worlds. Of course, this a perfect example of this is like flirting. It's like once you learn how to kind of be fun and charismatic and whatnot, you're now kind of raising up your own energy, and that then bounces off to someone else. And if they're flirting back with you, this is just like a nice ping pong game of one flirtatious, charismatic, playful energy going back to the other, right? So this is a form of learning how to play with that person. And that's just an energetic exchange. That's one example. I don't think people know that they're doing it most of the time unless they've either studied this or they're aware of it from conversations like this. Otherwise, it's almost something we do naturally, both good and bad. So like I used the term earlier, sometimes we emotionally vomit onto people. That's also an exchange of energy. That's like us getting super angry or frustrated or irritated or even shutting down and being avoidant. That also is impacting the other people around us. And I think most of the time we're not aware that we're doing these things. So all this to say that I think both men and women do have the ability to become aware. And once we are aware, we can play with the different types of energies we want to broadcast and disseminate to other people. And it's something that I think can be trained with time, but because we don't talk about it in school, it's perhaps more rare that people are capable of doing this.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that, because, some people have said women naturally have intuition and they don't really have to, no one really has to show them how to do it. So that's why I asked that. So I don't know.
I mean, it's a good question. I get what you're saying, because I do hear this a lot. And I would say maybe the difference is that women are more encouraged to tap into what that intuitive voice is saying. And they're allowed, let's say, it's like a social allowance or permission to be emotionally expressive and to be intuitively expressive. Whereas I think it's more rare that society would say, hey, men, tap into your intuition and follow it. It feels like intuition is more of a feminine trait.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's female. That doesn't mean, I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about genders. So it's naturally more feminine. And I'd say historically or traditionally, we did not give a permission for men to step into these more feminine spaces. But I think more and more today, we're open to it. And I think it's beautiful, because then men can also tap into the power of their own intuition.
Yeah, just socially speaking, I think in the societies where we live, they don't really support a lot of this. It's kind of because people are so busy being busy, and they don't really have time to sit down and think about very much of anything, outside of what they already have going on.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely agree with that. And I think sometimes it takes, I don't want to necessarily say such an extreme measure as a breakdown, but it usually takes some form of uncomfortableness or suffering before people say, okay, something needs to change. And ideally, that doesn't always have to be the case. We shouldn't have to get to a point of suffering before we tune inwards, but that often seems to be the driver for most people.
Unfortunately, yeah. That's usually something have to happen before you make a big change,
Yeah. The beauty of humanity. And I've had these debates before with people and saying, do we need to wait to suffer before we can finally listen to the wisdom that we have within us? Because I do think we all have a wisdom within us that leads us and directs us. And I think the more and more we do, inner work on ourselves, the more we tap into this intuitive voice that can naturally guide us, or our inner guidance system, whatever we want to call it. I think the more we do the work, the more natural it becomes. It's all training. It's like a little kid that you have to tell them to brush their teeth every morning. Eventually they get it.
Well, how did you have the confidence that, hey, I can teach people how to do this?
Oh,
that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it started off as a bunch of people for years saying to me, you really need to teach communication and you really need to teach connection. And I would kind of just laugh it off and be like, whatever. Doesn't everybody communicate this way? Isn't this normal? And then I started analyzing, and I would say more than ever, from traveling the globe and being put in positions where literally I was meeting new people, strangers, every single day of my life. And most of the time, not in English. So, not only having to learn how to connect in my mother tongue, which I'm most comfortable with, but learning how to break down cultural barriers, language barriers, traditions, belief systems, and actually get to the core of who the human being is beside me and talk to them from their deepest core and my own, right? On a deeper level. So lots of moments of hand gesturing and trying to figure things out. And along the way, I taught myself 6 different languages so that I could actually build those deeper connections with people. And so to answer your question, I think the thing that gives us the greatest sense of confidence in life is our experiences. And the more we have experiences, the more we become familiar with something and the more comfortable we become at doing that thing. And so at some point, it just almost became like second nature. Like I could talk to you with my eyes closed. I could step into any culture, any place, anywhere, anytime and talk to anybody about anything. And not only was it just easy, but I love it. And I find people fascinating. And I think we can learn something new from every human being that comes in front of us. And so, you know, between watching all the conflicts in the world and people saying to me, you need to teach this stuff because you're excellent at it and you embody it. And then, of course, all the just practical life experience of being tossed into totally different cultures around the world, I said, okay, maybe there's something here. Maybe I need to start sharing this. And during the peak of COVID, I was meditating about 3 hours a day, and information just started coming through. And I was just downloading all this information. And I thought, maybe I should write this down. And so I just started writing it. And then I realized, I'm like, there are 9 keys here. This is what ended up building out my connection code. And, you know, I broke it down, I analyzed it. This is what I do. And I said, there's 9 keys. These are powerful. Let me do more research on them. And I dug even deeper into it. And I said, no, there's gold here. And people need to know this, because this would totally change our lives personally, in our work life and in our romantic lives, but also globally. You know, the way we talk to each other, even between nations, could be improved. So, you know, very much on a personal level, but also on a global level, I think the way in which we relate to each other and talk to each other could totally be changed for the better.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the main reasons why, and I could be wrong about this, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think one of the main reasons why women are so quick to leave guys or leave the relationship is because there's no deep connection there.
That's interesting. So here's what I would say. Are you doing your part? Or are you doing your homework correctly in building that bridge of safety and comfort? Because I will say this, I have had people literally open up to me within 2 minutes or less about the fact that their father just passed away, or their marriage just ended, or they just lost their job. And so why is it that some people are willing to go deep so quickly? I think this also comes back to the energy piece. Yeah. And it comes back to what I say is getting curious and asking quality questions. And so I think if we actually create a space for someone to be able to feel listened to and heard and acknowledged, and we actually ask them these quality questions, they'll start opening up to us, and fast. And if they feel safe in the space and they feel comfortable, even quicker will they open up. So if people come to me and say, oh, I'm lacking deep connections, well, I would first ask, are you doing your part in asking these fascinating, deeper questions to really unravel the onion and get to the core of someone's spirit?
Yeah, safety is a big one too. Yeah, because I talk to a lot of people, men and women. They say, I was afraid. I'm afraid of what they might say or do to me. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes.
So I'm like, what do you think they're going to do? I don't know.
Judge you. More than anything, it's judgment. We're all afraid of being judged. Yeah. And so, and I love that you mentioned the word safety, because safety doesn't just look like, okay, is the environment clear? Everything's safe. We're good to talk. Safety looks like, can I tell you anything and you won't judge me? You'll just listen. Yeah. And maybe you'll even ask me more about it because you're curious, not because you'll use it against me, but because you just want to understand me on a deeper level. That's safety. And when we can allow someone to feel like they can literally tell us anything and they won't be met by judgment, I mean, that's where connection starts.
That doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your 9 key system, the connection code.
Yeah.
How did this come about? It sounds like a book in the making.
It is. It is midway being written and soon to come out in the next few months. And it will, I'll let you all know about it when it's ready.
Okay.
Yeah. So essentially, like I had shared earlier, these 9 keys came to place, of course, from years of lifetime experience and learning, but really it came through me when I was meditating and call it channeling a greater source, greater energy, whatever, all the wisdom came through me. For the sake of time, I don't think we can dig into all 9 of them today because we will literally be here all day and night. But I can definitely start to share the first 2 or 3 with everybody here. And we actually started touching on the first one. And the first one is what I call being curious. And so when we are curious, and all of these keys, by the way, they start with ourselves, the relationship with ourselves, the connection with ourselves, and then they expand outwards to the relationship with other people in our lives. So first and foremost, we actually want to get curious about who we are. And that looks like sitting and asking ourselves and reflecting, what is important for me? What do I value? What do I like? What do I need? What are my boundaries? Right? And so that can show up in a relationship. You know, what is important for me in a partner? What are the values I would like to see in a partner? And do I embody those values? Because if I want, for example, a partner who eats healthy and is fit and takes care of themselves, well, then I need to ask myself, am I doing that too? You know, so it's first about turning inwards and being curious and asking ourselves, what's important for us? What do we value? And then it's turning outwards and getting curious about the person in front of us. And I mentioned this earlier, and this is what I said about, you know, are you doing your homework right? So let's say you go on a date. Are you actually digging deeper and asking the person about who they are, about their family life, their upbringing, what's important and valuable and meaningful for them? What do they value? And that's how you'll actually get insight into, are your values aligned? So I'll give you a very good example of something that entirely baffled me. I was working with it was actually 2 separate couples, and both of them had gotten married. And right in the beginning of their marriage, they had discovered that, so one couple discovered that one of them wanted kids, the other one didn't. The other couple discovered that they both wanted kids, but one wanted to raise them Jewish and the other one Catholic. And I said, guys, these are your values. Wanting kids or not, that's like you saying, what is important for me? What do I value? What do I want in my life? Or raising them one type of religion or another, those are your values. I'm like, at what point did you not think to ask each other and get curious about what's important for the other person? How did you end up in a marriage without having these very meaningful conversations? So, you know, these are the conversations you can have on a first or second date. Like, why not? We always say, like, oh, don't talk politics, don't talk religion, don't talk sex, don't talk all these uncomfortable things. And I say, I actually think you should.
Yeah.
I say, get curious. Now, the difference is you should be able to have an open, completely all cards on the table dialogue without judgment.
Yeah.
And that's when people, once again, feel safe. So I should be able to talk to you about your religious beliefs, even if they don't align with me. I should be able to talk to you about how many kids you do or don't want, even if I do or don't want them myself. I should be able to talk to you about your favorite sex positions, even if it might not be mine, or, you know, even if that's an uncomfortable, taboo conversation to have. So I think when we do get curious, like I said, first and foremost about ourselves, and then we see if that aligns with the other person, we start asking quality questions and actively listening to people. Then we really start to build a deeper understanding of who's actually sitting in front of us. And is this really a person that I want to give my time to? And that can be in romantic relationships, that can be in business partnerships, that can be in who you hire in your company, that can be the friendships that you keep, all of those arenas.
Yeah. So what's the next?
You're like, tell me more. Give me the juice. Don't hold it back. So the next piece is consciousness. And so consciousness really is about this awareness piece. And so we can really chalk this down into 2 different major categories. One is, are you conscious? And that really means, are you present? Are you mindful? Are you aware? Are you with the person right now? So how many couples I see that are out having dinner and one's on their phone while the other one's just sitting there, and I'm like, doesn't look like you're present with each other. Doesn't look like you're actually engaging and you're aware of like what's going on in the other person's world. Nobody's talking. right? And I see this a lot. Or how present are you that, you're with your partner and one of them comes home and is sharing their day with you and you're just checked out and in another world, right? So that's when you want to say, okay, babe, just give me 2 minutes. Let me send off this message. It's really important. Or, let me come back to you. I just lost you for a moment, but I want to be with you. I want to hear about your day, right? So that's coming back and being conscious and saying, I want to be present with you. I want to be here and now so that we can connect deeper. And trust me when I say people know when you're not listening.
Oh, yeah.
People can feel it. And so one of the best things I do, and it's just a little subtle trick for any of you out there that feel like somebody might not be listening or present, I literally will just go silent. So let's say we're having a dialogue. I notice you're fiddling with your phone or your mind somewhere else or whatever it may be. I will actually just stop talking and I'll wait. I'm just like relaxed, waiting. And then I see when they tune back into the fact that there's been complete silence between us. Because one of the most unconscious but yet uncomfortable things for humans is to be sitting in silence. So we often can have dialogue. And as long as you're still hearing the person's voice, you can be with your phone, you can be paying attention to something else, and you're like, okay, they're still talking to me, I'll check in eventually. But if they go silent, your brain is eventually going to register that actually they stopped talking, which means now it's your turn to respond. And if you don't know what's going on, you can't respond. So now you look foolish. So, and it's not like you're not listening to me. It's not an argument. It's none of that. It's just let me go silent. Let me patiently wait. Let me see them tune back in. And then when they tune back in, often I'll make a joke about it. I'll be like, oh yeah, I saw you were on your phone and thought I would just, give you a moment. Let you do what you need to do before you come back to this conversation. Or, maybe be playful and be like, how was the conversation? Is it good? Whatever it might be. Now, if you feel like that's a pattern happening, I would have a real conversation around it because you clearly don't want the person you're with to be checking out on you all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is one piece to being conscious. The other piece is exactly what we were talking about earlier in terms of being mindful of energy levels. Now, when we're conscious, we get conscious of what's physically going on, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. So even something as being aware of how your body is feeling. Sometimes we're in a conversation with someone and then we tense up and we're not even mindful of how our body is responding. Sometimes we're not even there yet. It's like it could be a family dinner and you're already feeling stressed before you go to it.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe you're meeting your partner's family for the first time and you're like, I'm tense and I'm nervous. That's your body talking to you. And so for us to be conscious of that and to really unravel that tenseness before we even walk into any social space or even while we're in it, that goes a long way because now energetically, the person is going to feel how comfortable you are or not.
Yeah.
But then of course, what extends beyond this is, like I said, the energy piece. So are you having a good conversation and it's energizing you, or is it totally draining? And who are you being walking into that conversation? So are you going into a conversation angry, frustrated, tired, drained, all of these things, and now you're bringing that energy in? Because I would say if that's the case, you should check yourself at the door and be mindful of that before you now, release that out into the world. And also, there are moments where we just are tired, and that just is the case. But if you're coming out of that conversation feeling energized, then I would say, hey, there's something there that's really beautiful about the exchange you just had with someone. And vice versa. If you're going in fully energized, you feel great, everything's good, and then you're coming out drained, I would also say you want to really be mindful of how that exchange was, because maybe, there's exceptions. Maybe if you only met the person once, it was just a one-off experience. But if you continuously notice that you're around someone who just totally extracts the energy out of you, you might want to see what's really going on. And it could be what's going on first and foremost in your thoughts and beliefs about that person, but it could also just be very well that they're just an emotional suck. So it's so important for us to just be mindful of how we come into, any sort of interaction, and also how we leave that interaction. And more than anything, the most important thing I would say is you always want to be mindful of how you leave someone feeling, because people will know. They don't know consciously necessarily, but they will certainly feel whether they want to see you again or not.
My goodness, this is great. Well, last question.
Yes.
Let's talk about your event and what it's all about.
Yeah, beautiful. So because I'm living in Mexico, I am running a 5-day event down here, and this is called the Connection Code. It's all based around the book that I am writing right now. It's based around my 9 keys. And really, we're going to spend 5 full days together connecting, learning how to build these deep, meaningful connections, how to talk to each other, how to lead greatly, how to be aware of all these things going on, first and foremost in ourselves. And then, of course, how to build these healthy relationships with our families, with our romantic partners, how to even date, how to meet people, how to network, how to show up in our business, like healthy, how to, bring in clients if that's what we want, or how to have healthy relationships with our colleagues. All of our communication skills and our ability to connect trickles out into every area of our lives. So we're really going to dabble into that in this 5-day event that I'll be having down here. So if it does interest you, it piques your attention, please feel free to reach out to me. It would be an absolute pleasure to share more of it with you. And it'll be fun. I mean, we're going to do activities. There's learning, there's seminar, workshops and stuff, but then lots of activities, lots of fun, interactive type stuff as well, because I want to get you up and moving and connecting with the people around you too.
So if people wanted to follow you and work with you, where would they go to?
Yeah. So, please check out all my stuff on my Linktree. So my Instagram, you can follow me, LinkedIn, Facebook. And guys, if you want to even just connect with me one-on-one, book a connection call. You'll see it in the link here. It should say connection call, and just sign up for it. And we can have a nice video chat just like this, or you can shoot me a message over Facebook or Instagram, and we can just chat, see where you're at, and see how I can help you.
There you have it. Like, share this episode. All links will be found in the show notes. Tell me what you think below. Until next time, we out. Peace. If you like this video, share this video. And if you want to support my channel, click the thanks tab and leave me a donation. 2, 5, 10, 50. Just click whatever tab you want to donate and leave me a note and let me know how the video helped you. And you click the buy and send tab. Appreciate it.